Right.
All right,
So,
go ahead.
last time in Mynth Wanderings, the group has decided to attempt to undo the meddling which the cult of the worm had caused under the guise of being a cult for a dragon. First, by going to the Southern Empire, ridding the inner circle of compromised individuals. Second, by rescuing the surviving members of the Veng dynasty from imminent, worm sign?
Or infection.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even in
Infestation.
parasitism? I don't know.
And then after that, you headed to the Northlands to get to the hidden city first, and incidentally picked up an artifact for a god of the sky.
Which
And
has
then
been a fucking boon.
which then
Wow.
turned out to be quite useful when you headed to the Western lands and discovered that the god of the sky is still the principal god of the area. And so you were given a welcome feast, and the locals paid very close attention when you said that false prophets in the guise of dragons were walking amongst them. However, they also said that they needed some time to get everybody together to see who deserves to be the Kagan, the Khan of Khans. So while they were busy with that, you tracked down the last remaining member, unknown member of the Vang dynasty, who has spent much of his recent life in a monastery, atoning for the poorly spent youth. And you've talked things over. He has a candidate outside of the Vang dynasty who could potentially start a new dynasty to replace them. And you decided to all head over to where the gold dragons sort of dictate life to the Eastern Empire in an attempt to explain the situation, get them to remove the Vang dynasty members who have been compromised, and put your new candidates in their place.
Now we just need to rule all of them out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Which
Let's
is
go,
easy, actually.
Let's go hang out.
Go take care of
Go
that.
say hi to the piss dragons, yeah. Wait, no, golden.
The Golden Shower Dragons.
Okay. Well,
Just don't say it to their face,
No,
or you will
of
die.
course not. I'm flippant, not stupid.
Look, I already have my
Well,
greatest treasure from
debatable.
this journey. Everything else is just fucking aces.
Actually, kind of speaking of the item you took from the Western nomads, when you head up into the sky above the continent again, well, you spend a bit of time just in the ascent and descent, and so the Poland, the Vang member you got from the dynasty,
mhm.
has a chance to drink some of the milk you got from the Western nomads, because as old-fashioned nomads, they also gave you a bunch of gifts when you left. Those of you who were present when you left.
That's nice.
And they included fine daggers, blankets,
I love daggers.
I love blankets.
and some of
So-
their food and milk.
Who's gonna apologize to him for letting him drink that shit?
Well, the point I was making is that after having a nice drink and talking earlier, some of his voice seems to have returned. And so when he approaches you, he says, "So, I've been thinking it over, and we might actually have a chance to change things when we visit the dragons. I mean, like I said, they're pretty conservative, but essentially they failed. All the Vang got corrupted by this outside influence. The worm," he said. "And they don't usually listen to us puny humans very much, but if they're going to be open to suggestions, this may be the last time in 100 years anybody's going to have an opportunity."
What kind of suggestions were you thinking?
The thought just occurred to me. I mean, I never thought this day would ever come. The furthest I ever got to thinking was that Rules Yosen would be a good replacement, if it ever came to that. But I'm just realizing that we could do something more. We could tell them how the government should work. Hopefully you guys have more experience with that, because
Well,
I
one of us
don't-
does.
Well,
the only
first,
thing the
Others
only
have
suggestion
strange ideas. Sorry.
the only suggestion I'd have is to get rid of the boy in the tower system, but I don't think they're going to listen to me. I mean, it basically worked. "Hey there, nephew." And the kid just sort of stares at him from behind one of your legs.
yep.
Well,
Maybe I could suggest that maybe the rich shouldn't live in such, super opulent palaces, but that's just me.
well, okay. The fine-tuning of the exact opulence of palaces is obviously something that can be discussed, but I don't think
I know that's not what he meant. Is the thing.
Aurelia's just worried that Lake is going to spout off about how people should be equal or something.
Well, people should be equal.
Just gonna break out my incredibly complicated chart that says nobility equals bad.
I agree with that, actually.
Well, okay. You wouldn't understand, would you?
No, I understand fully and completely. I think better than you in some respects.
Yeah, I don't think so. All right. Well, we can keep that in mind. I'm not sure it would be entirely appropriate for us to try to dictate how this country should be structured.
I mean, the
being
problem is
Gold
the
Dragon-
dragons.
The Gold Dragons are already doing that. And
Yeah.
we would have the ear of the Gold Dragons. This opportunity won't be going to anybody else.
I mean, the real issue is the golds want control, and we have to work around that.
Yeah.
As much as it hurts me to say this.
Yeah, I don't know. Aurelia is not thrilled with the idea of interfering too much, and believe me, this is me struggling to be in character, because I would love nothing more than to fucking try to design a political system for them. But I don't think that Aurelia would really be down for that.
I mean, if nothing else, the boy in the tower system is very
well,
bad.
yes, she's definitely against that. That's just weird. That's not how you educate someone properly to rule.
It worked out this one time through what is a pure fluke.
Well, not really, because the thing is, yeah, he survived because of that, but
he's not fit to
He's
rule.
also he's also
fit to
wholly
rule, so-
inept to rule. Yeah.
So it doesn't actually help. Like, it just means a member of the family will survive, but it's not
It's
really
a
any
really tiny
specific
patch on a gaping
value.
hole.
Well, no, it just doesn't. It doesn't accomplish what it's meant to accomplish. It accomplishes something else, which isn't as useful. So I don't know. I think that
It's a workaround that fixes nothing.
Yeah.
It only leads to further complications, like our good friend here.
Mm-hmm.
No offense.
None taken.
I mean, part of the problem is we don't even really know that much about the country works as it is. Besides that,
I do.
very hierarchical. Yes, okay,
It's
this guy does.
yeah.
They
I
taught
was
me the system. You can ask me questions if you have any.
all right.
How does succession work?
Well, the oldest son of the current emperor takes the reins, and if for some reason that person can't, then the next son and the next son. And if there are no sons in that unlikely event, then it goes to the next oldest male member of the dynasty.
Already
So-
not feeling this, but okay.
Male line primogeniture. That's well, okay. Well, maybe we can start there. What if we had equality for
Mm-hmm.
male and female succession? That would be good.
That would be good.
Well, I would like to think that the Gold Dragons have been thinking about that, since I've heard the Southern Empress has been doing fairly well, leading the South. Then again, I don't get that much news up in the
I mean,
monastery.
Oh, we met her. She seems like lovely people.
she is lovely people.
I mean, she was being manipulated into like genocide or whatever, but you know,
My friend over there worked for her. It wasn't good.
All right. Okay. So that's one idea. How is the administration like? Besides the imperial family, like what does the administration look like? Is there like a nobility? Is it a hereditary nobility? Is it?
No, actually, that was one of the gold. Just hang on. I got a lot of pages to scroll through to move the. Actually, no. The administration, the top level administration anyway, is appointed from the emperor, from the center of the empire. It's eunuchs only.
Yeah, that's also a no-go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can. So maybe
Well,
there are some things we could try to convince them.
Well, that was one of the Gold Dragon's big ideas. A eunuch cannot produce heirs, cannot have children they would want to pass their holdings onto.
All right, so I know from real history that didn't work very well most of the time in China,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that's also true here.
I mean, it's important to remember that the golds themselves are ass backwards as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Aurelia is she has some ideas now. Like, all right, well,
To be fair, I think in
clearly
this
what we need to
situation,
do is implement a hereditary nobility, because they will, as all nobility do, rule for the benefit of the lower classes, and through
I'm sorry, go on.
The mechanism of inheritance, they each will train his or her children to fulfill their duties, and they will grow up in that environment, and will thus proceed to rule as their parents did, mostly for the
I'm sorry,
benefit
go
of
on. Keep going.
lower classes. Now, obviously, that in practice, it's not completely perfect.
The Gold Dragons did try that before.
Oh, how'd that work out?
They moved to this system after that because, well, children aren't always able to take the reins of their parents. And yet, under a hereditary system, they have to. With the dynasty, there's at least, like I said, if the firstborn male heir can be ruled as unable to inherit. And that happens sometimes.
I suppose. Have you considered that maybe you just had the wrong noble families?
Well, that's where the dynasty system comes in.
I'm looking at Lily and I'm giving the biggest jack off motion.
I've mentioned before that the Gold Dragons have purged dynasties before.
Right.
So not all of them were from outside influence like this time.
I see. Well, maybe. Have you considered maybe the country's just too big? No? Just throwing it out
Still,
there.
still think about the Unix
I-
system and how it's a bad idea.
Yeah, the Unix system's really bad.
What if there was more decentralization?
I don't know. Gold
golds wouldn't
dragons
want that.
probably wouldn't appreciate that.
Hmm.
Then again, they do let civil wars run wild when there's a time between dynasties. But then it just settles down after that. And the new dynasty that's in charge takes over the reins left by the last one.
You know, what if the real problem is the golds?
I
Yeah.
don't think they're going to listen to that one.
No, that's why I
Yeah,
didn't
no.
suggest it.
I mean, I don't know. I think that it's unrealistic to expect any political system to work perfectly. If there were such a system that didn't have any of these problems, then, I'm sure it would be put in practice just about everywhere because people would see that it was the best system. It would be the most successful. I think you just have to accept that however you set things up, there's some possibility of problems. There's always going to be political struggles between, different people in power, and I don't know, trying to shift around the pieces in different ways to try to make sure that doesn't happen seems like an exercise in utility. Now, something could still be better than something else, but at the
Okay,
end of
two
the
notes.
day,
Boy in the tower system, bad.
yeah, no, I
Unix
mean,
system, bad.
Mhm.
yes, and also male exclusive inheritance, also bad.
Yes,
We can all agree on those
Yes.
things.
Yes.
Well,
But-
I'm kind of wondering what would take over from the Unix system, though. The idea was to have officials out in the provinces who are more loyal to the state than to themselves and their families.
I mean, selfishness happens regardless. You don't need a
Yeah.
family to be selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
precisely.
suppose.
And people can be loyal to other people without being related to them. I mean, it's a simple thing for someone to adopt a child. There's, that even familial love, let alone the love between friends, can sprout even without the ability to create offspring. Never mind,
Also-
someone could simply have a nephew or a cousin that they would try to bend things in favor of. I don't think that castrating people really makes much difference. Never mind that in addition, that is another system that benefits men because you can't really do the same thing to women. Or certainly not safe if you can.
And I would like to remind you that you guys are familiar with at least 3 systems that are generally better off than
Yeah.
the one in the Golden Empire.
I mean,
Right.
Because in Vienna, the merchants are essentially in charge of themselves. They created their own assembly. They are in charge of the budget they raise from their own taxes, and it's allowed the prince and them to basically prosper in different directions.
Yeah. The
And-
problem is that doesn't generally scale very well.
And in Okar, you're familiar with the fact that the emperor or empress there is decided through a series of trials, both mental and physical. And
Wait, really? I didn't know that.
I mean,
Well, your
in
characters
character,
are familiar
in
with this.
character, we
Who's
would
allowed
go.
to enter?
Yes,
Who's allowed to
everyone.
enter?
Everyone. Yes.
Shit.
Wait,
Maybe I should become the emperor.
guys, hold on.
No.
I didn't know this before.
No.
Well, if you are a criminal because you murdered the last emperor, that would not, you would not be permitted to go in
Well,
there.
that's
So-
only if they know. Also, who's the current emperor? How old are they?
Oh, she's been in charge for about 20 years now.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying,
I could become
if she happens to
Empress.
die,
I could become Empress.
well, okay, I was
Yeah.
thinking of someone else because I'm pretty sure
I
you
mean,
would
Lake's
hate
not
being
really
Empress,
fit to
but
rule,
well,
honestly.
obviously not Lake. Jeez.
Yeah.
Lake would. Here's Lake's official stance on the whole Empress thing. Lake doesn't think anybody should be Empress. It's too much responsibility for a
Fair. Anyway,
country
sorry, I'm
that
sorry.
big.
We got sidetracked talking about this.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
let Bob finish.
Just gonna
But-
say two things, but go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was say there are two things about Lily's no feelings on nobility. One, they have really good shit to steal. Two, she'd rather live simple.
Mm-hmm. Sort of a Garrett situation, Garrett from Thief.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's also Kalania, which you visited, and you're familiar with the fact that it is actively a representative democracy.
And I like that idea.
Mm.
I like that idea. Let's
I mean, the
try
issue
and
is the
do
golds
that.
probably wouldn't.
The goals
No.
probably wouldn't, but we can always
And
suggest it to
Aurelia
them.
will also not support that. I mean, not that you would necessarily need her support, but
The golds are kind of big on the whole puppet ruler.
Yeah, but by the sound of it, it seems like the puppet is entirely replaceable, so it might not be that hard to convince them of that aspect. But
True.
again, they are very conservative in their views,
Yeah.
and so switching directly from directly from top-down emperor to representative democracy is probably going to be a couple steps too many.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, if it were up to Aurelia, she would probably suggest some kind of more decentralized nobility, like, Holy Roman Empire style or something like that, because that's probably what she would think of as like the ideal large state.
Well, you guys don't
But-
necessarily have to pool your decisions. You can each present your
Yes.
own ideas
Yes. So I mean,
to
I
the
think
goals.
that's probably what Aurelia would argue for here. But I don't know. She's also not she's just not that invested in trying to get them to do whatever.
Yeah.
She
Look, I got
also
my
sort of
three
values-
things
yeah.
that I'm sure can probably change. Otherwise,
I mean, yeah, we all agree with those. I think.
Yeah.
But
God, this is gonna suck.
All right. If you guys are done brainstorming, we can move on to the next part.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that all of Lake's ideas would be far too radical for the gold dragons.
Totally tubular.
No, I mean not that. Fuck off.
All right. Descend back down towards the Golden Empire. Just need to switch up the order here a bit so I can move the tab closer. You note that the spot that Poland directs you to is actually fairly deep within the mainland of the Eastern Empire. Like, it is close to the northernmost city, the capital that you visited earlier, but it is quite a bit further in, about maybe half the distance between the coastline and the western wilderlands.
sorry, quick question, Bobbin, because I'm just looking at the map again. The sort of darker yellow areas, are those like vassal states, or tributaries or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Like
Interesting.
one, the other, or both.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah, just checking to make sure.
And I think the same is for the darker blue areas further down south.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that's what, because we talked about those when we were down there, so I was pretty sure it was the same thing. I just
Right.
wanted to
Mhm.
check because we hadn't specifically talked about the
Okay.
gold and
Yeah.
empire ones.
Yeah. Same distinction. Same use of colors there.
Fair enough.
And so, eventually, you descend into a valley that is so steep on each side that it seems hard to imagine how anybody could get here unless they had wings. This seems to be the point, actually.
Fucking dragon bullshit.
You can fly with magic. It's fine.
On the other hand, there is indeed a dock area set to one side of the main compound. And so while you don't see any other ships coming in or out of this area, you get the idea that flying vessels are able to come here. It's just that based on the ones you've seen, they would still have trouble navigating through the extremely steep mountains that cut this particular little hole called a valley off from the rest of the world.
Luckily, we can cheat by going to space.
Indeed.
Fucking dragons.
All right,
God damn.
I guess we should like park there.
Yeah.
I agree, Bobbin's roommate.
I'm going to close the door.
Just having a fucking time, Jesus.
Yeah. I think she's complaining about her day. So, you settle your vessel along the dry dock area. And you are met there by a single person in very formal, very expensive looking robes. And as you settle in, Poland does say one thing, which is that the sanctuary has both gold dragons in various forms and humans, normal humans who work as their servants. But you should assume that anyone you meet in there is a gold dragon. They enjoy masquerading just to see, who respects servants and who doesn't.
Yeah, we got a
we
cheat
kind
sheet,
of got a
but
feel for that
like,
at this point.
I always respect servants. They
We
call me
have-
the servant respecter.
We have talked to so many dragons.
trust me, if there's anybody here who's going to respect the servants, it's gonna be me and Lily.
We met one that was an albatross.
Yeah,
Was it an albatross? I think it was an albatross.
it was an albatross. Sean was an albatross. Yes.
Okay. We should also probably bring Marlia with us.
Yeah.
So aside from the main party, who are you planning to take along?
Marlia,
Silky, if she wants to come.
and then our new friend with the scratchy voice. Well,
Poland.
Poland. Yes.
Mhm.
Lake remembers his name in character. I, on the other hand, did not have my cheat sheet up, so
Also, our good buddy Harvey is strapped to the ship.
yeah.
I definitely definitely on the helm,
Yeah.
where he can't be easily spotted.
Yeah, no, we do not want him anywhere near any of these dragons.
No. No.
Nothing against Harvey, but they hate his guts.
Yes.
Or lack thereof. I don't know what he's got going on in there.
Mhm. All right, and what about Lorem?
If he wants to come, I guess we
I
can
don't think
bring
we
him.
could keep Lorem away. is
Yeah,
the thing.
like I'm pretty sure Lorem's strength will magically become like 32 the minute we try and keep him from this place.
He found the belt. Who gave Lorem the belt?
Oh, yes, he is absolutely going to come along if that's. Well, yeah, just absolutely.
Yeah.
I told you we couldn't stop him even if we wanted to, but also there's no need to.
Yeah, like
And in general, he's going to stick to his usual tactic of staying in the back and keeping notes.
What should we do about the little prince?
should we bring him along?
I feel like Aurelia would feel like he deserves to be there.
I mean, I feel like it's a bit much for the kid, but also
He
not
needs
my-
to
not
he
my
needs to get
decision.
out of his shell a little bit, I would think. Like
He needs to see what the Golds think of his people.
yeah, essentially. Yeah, let's bring him along.
All right, with that settled, you settle into the
Let's
dock.
also bring the kitchen sink too.
Settled into the dock, as I mentioned before, you see a man in very formal, expensive-looking robes waiting for you. You note he has a very interesting bit of headgear with just this flat top and beads sort of hanging down on either side of his head. Not the
Ooh.
kind of outfit that you've seen before.
Fancy. I don't know if it's actually fancy, but it's exotic. Let's go with that.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I think there's only one thing to do here.
And
Lily goes in for a handshake.
I evaluate his fashion. Is it good?
Lily goes in for a handshake.
well, I believe this would be more of an investigation check to sort of appraise the quality of the outfit.
No, it's not the quality. It's the style, Bobbin. It's very different.
Well,
Well, for style, you have like zero context aside from, again,
Got
it
investigate.
is made up of a lot of different.
Okay, I don't actually care
Apparently-
that much. I was mostly just doing.
well, I
As I go in for a handshake, that is a 24.
yeah, I got a 23, so
Well, the two of you are quite settled on the fact that that is one sort of that is some expensive shimmering fabric. You're not sure what it takes to make fabric look like that, but the entire
Is it silk?
robe.
Do we know what silk is?
You would not know what silk is, no.
Okay, it's silk then. Got it.
Yes, but you are aware that the entire robe is made up of that material, dyed in various bright colors, which is hard to come by. And it appears to be covering the headgear as well, and the beads along the sides are made out of semi-precious stones.
Cool.
They really spare no expense, do they?
But as you
Oh, sorry.
step off the deck, and as Lily hops off, steps forward, hand forward, the person bows to you quite deeply. And when he brings up his head, he says, "Welcome, foreigners. You have been expected, although we were not certain when exactly you would arrive. Nevertheless, we are ready for you in the main chamber, or at least it shall be made ready in time for your audience. Please follow me."
Can't believe you left me hanging.
All right.
Lily, if you really want to shake someone's hand, I will shake your hand so that way you're not left hanging.
I don't need your
Too
pity
late,
shake.
it's already happening.
No! And then they shook hands. I hope you know it was the limpest handshake you've ever had.
Oh, same. 100%.
Like shaking a noodle.
Yeah, like it's just like two noodles flapping in the wind at this point.
Well, after that happens, it's going to take a few minutes for you to travel across all the walkways that will lead up to the main building, and presumably the main chamber is in there. And
Oh, yes. Just enough time for the awkwardness to dissipate.
you do have a chance to speak to your escort if you wanted to.
Does it look like he wants to talk? Because I
It
would.
looks like he's not expecting to talk.
All right, then I'm not going to.
So how long have you guys been waiting for us?
Since your arrival in the south,
Is it like a good expecting or a bad expecting?
the Golds will explain.
Yeah.
Okay, so bad expecting. Got it.
I mean,
They have not set fire to your vessel. I imagine that is better than the worst possibility.
Yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
They wanted to like do something to us. I don't think we would be here, so it can't be that bad.
an omen necessarily doesn't have to be good or bad. It's the funny thing about that, actually.
None of the dragons we've met have been gold dragons, have they?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh, no, actually we
These
didn't. I thought we met one.
No, we met a I think we've met every color except gold by this point.
Okay. I thought we met one in the city.
Yeah. What was
First city.
this? Yeah, the second dragon that we met in the south.
Oh
Yeah, the one that was
yeah.
in the simple
Was that
robes, pretending to be a
gold?
traveler.
Where was that?
That one was silver.
Oh, that
Ah.
one was silver, okay. So we
Correct.
just met multiple silvers. Interesting.
What was the sad boy dragon?
I am looking that up.
I think he was bronze,
Copper.
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 So you've met 2 coppers, 2 silvers, 1 dead brass. And now this guy who may or may not be a gold dragon.
And then,
I mean, Silky could find out.
then there was a bronze that we also met.
Look,
She'd need to
thankfully-
sit still and meditate for a bit first.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting her to. I'm just saying she could, in theory.
Look, just thankfully at least we have no reason to open up the portable hole. That would be embarrassing.
There's a skull in there, and then there's the carcass of a.
Whose skull?
There's the carcass of a fucking dragon fascist.
The
It's
still rotting skull of a silver
Well,
dragon.
you did actually have to get rid of the
True.
old
So I have-
skull to make room.
The slowly rotting head of a silver.
right.
It's fine. There's no real air.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I can find a good taxidermist.
Along with various bits of scale, claws, teeth, and
Yeah.
bones that you.
Oh yeah.
Tore out.
Before we. Oh god. This guy may have. I would like to say that before we got off of the ship, Lake would have tucked the dragon tooth necklace, like away. They would not be predominantly wearing, material from a slain metallic proudly in this place.
To be fair, I doubt teeth look all that different from one another, but who knows?
Fair, but also I'm already wearing the skin of a chromatic that I'd rather not push
To be
things.
fair, they already look down on the chromatics, so...
Yeah. That's the only reason why I'm not also taking that off and just wearing normal leathers.
All right. You enter into the central chamber. Along the way, you have passed other servants hurrying back and forth, apparently on business. A few others that seem to be in no hurry at all. I suppose they're on break or contemplating the rather beautiful landscape or just doing something with their time. All of them seem to have equally expensive outfits they all vary in the embroidery, in the dyes, in the materials used, but it's easy to see that all of them are equally expensive.
Man, Aurelia, imagine if you were this rich that you could dress even your servants like this.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah.
And there are also pleasure gardens set up between the buildings,
Lewd.
places where there are benches set out for people to sit on, like sand and ponds and beautiful flowers taken from all sorts of different locations. They look very exotic next to each other, if nothing else. And from the calls of the birds and the flashes of light coming up out of the ponds, the occasional croak of a toad, the gardens appear to be very populated as well, not just by plants, but by animals of various sorts. And some of them seem to be entirely without fear of humans, and are crawling around just behind them or around them. You see one person sitting still in some sort of deep meditation, perhaps. And birds are just sort of landing on him, using as a perch.
This is so extravagant.
Okay, so if we see a homeless man walking around with 9 canaries flying around him, don't even talk to him. That's a Bahamut joke.
This place
Yep.
disgusts
I
me.
And
don't
the
know.
central,
Place seems
and the
kind of
central
nice.
room actually has open sides to it that allows the sight of the misty mountains, the pleasure gardens, into the main chamber, which nevertheless, by an interesting tingle that goes across your body as you step across the threshold, you get the sense is protected from outside weather despite the open doors.
Look, like, all I'm saying is this place is too nice, too clean, too pristine, and too extravagant.
Yeah, I agree, but it also is kind of
This entire walk is
The
them
end.
flexing on us.
Yeah,
It's pretty nice.
yeah.
Guys,
Oh
it's
god,
not
if I really likes them.
flexing, please. It's just like they're just showing off, but in like a friendly
Yes.
way.
Or this is just how they like to live.
Yeah, like, well, yeah. I mean, it's just nice. Like, just not everything is about you. It's usually about me.
No, it's definitely about them.
Definitely about them.
Yeah,
In the
that
center
was a joke.
of this chamber, there is one solid wall, and it is finely decorated with wall hangings, artifacts of various designs and ages. And sitting before it, cross-legged, on a very sumptuous pillow, is a man who at least appears to be quite old, hair gone completely white, a long gray beard coming down from the, which is immaculately combed and straightened. And before him is a set of pillows, also on the ground, equal in number to the you've brought along with you.
Gonna
Alright.
go sit crisscross applesauce on one of them.
Same.
The escort who brought you here gestures for you to sit on the pillows.
All right. Well, I will indeed sit on them.
Yeah.
I will not kneel. I will sit cross-legged, and nobody can stop me.
Yeah, same. Cross legs.
Okay, I'm gonna sit the same way as the guy. So
He's actually also sitting cross-legged.
then I will sit that way. I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah,
So
the
is it
whole
lotus or
knees,
half lotus?
the knees forward thing is mostly Japanese.
That's fair.
Look, I'm just saying, is he saying lotus or half lotus like? Or is it just crisscross applesauce? This is important.
He does not seem to be in an intentionally. Well, his feet are not upwards, so
Okay. These are very important details.
once everybody is seated, servant bows to the man who was seated first and backs away without turning around to the edge of the chamber. And only at that point does the man finally say something, which is, "So, the foreigners have finally come to us."
That we have.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been sooner if you gave us directions.
I see that you have 2 members of the Veng dynasty with you. They must have told you where we are. And we would like to tell you what we know before you explain your story to us. Just so that we can understand what has happened and so that you can fill in the gaps of our knowledge.
All right.
Shoot.
You first came to our attention because of the aggressive way that you introduced yourself to the Southern Empress
Oh,
by
yeah,
murdering half of her inner circle in front of her. She sent us a report that this had happened, and also mentioned
What a snitch.
that the members you had killed had been infected by an insidious foe, and that you were led by a Chilean, which was how she knew that this was so.
I'd say accompanied, but all right.
We were somewhat surprised to learn in a report that chased the Southern report's heels that a group of foreigners and an even more foreign ship went to the capital of the Golden Empire, infiltrated the palace, stole a child of the Vang dynasty from the most isolated and protected tower in the entire palace complex, and then got away in a ship that rose vertically into the sky.
Look, I am nothing if not good at my job.
I see you have the child you took with you,
Yeah,
He's lovely too.
he's good. He's good people.
and based on that report, we have assumed that you have a spelljammer at your disposal. And as we saw from your arrival, this has held out. It is a bit less expensive than we had perhaps thought. But then any spelljammer of any sort is expensive.
I mean, really, it was a hand-me-down, but
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not
did
gonna
you-
look the gift horse in the
Word
mouth,
for
so
it. Considering I don't think you can buy them regularly.
If I may ask, did you obtain these from the Eastern Elves,
the who?
No.
your ship?
No.
Hmm.
I don't. Would we know If
No, okay, so no. The Eastern Elves, I think he means are on the one
Oh,
continent we haven't
oh,
been to.
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Cool.
Then
No,
no.
we
Then no.
have no. The answer is no.
The answer is no.
Hmm. Well, we assumed that, despite the closeness of the timing of your arrival, you must have been the same group to assault the Southern Empress's inner circle and to take the child from the tower. Since you did the one, because of an insidious enemy, we assume that you took the child because he was in imminent danger of also falling to this insidious enemy. In the days that have followed, we have investigated certain members of the Vang dynasty to see whether or not they have been compromised. Unfortunately, all of them whom we have tested have failed, have shown this infestation. May I assume that the exile who is also with you is another one of the Vang who has not yet been infected?
Yes, that is a good assumption.
Correct.
Very well. Then what further have you to tell us?
Well,
The entire Vang dynasty is gonna fail your test.
yes, our understanding is that there are only 3 members of the Vang dynasty who were not infected, as it were. 2 of them sit before you, and the third,
We don't know.
Isn't even on this plane of existence.
Yeah, we don't know
we're
where
not entirely
he is.
certain what happened to the third.
Well, we know what happened. We don't know where he is.
Yeah, he read some sort of cursed scroll that caused him to go insane and be teleported to
Yes.
another dimension.
Which we might ask you about, but that's a later priority.
We do have the scroll, and it is contained, though.
Yeah.
Yes. But yes, and so we have the 2 surviving, essentially, members of the Vang dynasty who are reachable with us at the moment.
Mr. Dragon, out of curiosity, how familiar are you with the worm that walks?
I will make a roll. A nightmare to scare children.
No, he's
Mm.
very real, actually.
Yeah, no.
Something can
he's
be real and a
very-
nightmare.
Yeah, well, true. This is very true. But in this case, 100% real. And 100% threatening not just this planet, but all planets and all of existence and all of time.
I mean, if you ever want to make sure of that, I guess. Anytime you kill one of the Vang we've mentioned, worms will come out of them. Which is how he takes root.
Yeah.
I
If you
mean,
would.
Hmm?
I wish to verify this with your leader. Where is he?
Sorry?
Grenache. Grenache is the leader.
Grenache is not the leader.
Oh,
I
wait.
you,
do you mean
I'm afraid
Harvey?
you've gotten the wrong impression.
Right.
To the
Oh.
extent that we have a leader, it would be me.
Mm,
Well, Grenache does stand up and present the spear.
Aurelia does not like this. Aurelia will remember this.
Just Lily puts one hand on Aurelia's back. I even feel bad about this.
These sexist dragons.
Fucking A, right? Also, so the problem is we don't know that the Kieran takes the guise of a woman. And it's like,
Yeah.
Yes. But
Making this so frustrating.
well, so here's the thing. Grenache pulls out the spear and says, "The Kirin has taken the form of this spear and aids us by identifying those infected." Then he holds forth the spear, and as the old man touches the horn part of the spear, you actually hear, all of you hear, the whisper of the Kirin. And you hear it say, I have chosen to aid these adventurers in their... Why can I hear... Why is it that others I do not wish to hear me can hear me right now? It is part of the magic of this place. A way to ensure that all are able to hear each other clearly. If you say so.
So extravagant.
But you will address me as she in the future. She? You're no woman. Nor am I a man. Use she.
Oh, internally, Lake's going, oh, I get it. I super duper get it.
Just Lily is fighting every urge in her body to start clapping.
Aurelia doesn't really get it. She just always assumed that the Kirin was a woman.
The Kirin is an otherworldly being that does produce the way that mortals do.
All right, well,
See, this
otherworldly
is
beings
more
can
for
still
me.
be men or women.
See, for me, this is more about sticking it to the dragon, but
Yeah.
But yes, as it is. And she also follows this up by saying, and bring in an actual dragon for us to speak to.
Ooh.
Well, that's a little racist.
At this, the old man goes, very well. Master, they wish to speak with you directly. He turns his head as he says this towards one of the pleasure gardens. And at that point, one of the small birds, a species you haven't really encountered before, hops off what is now clearly a sleeping servant in the garden,
oh no.
hops down onto the ground, transforms into a adolescent boy.
There's a lot of things weird with this, and I don't know where to begin.
The boy is dressed similar to everyone else around here, although he doesn't have any headgear on. The old man calmly gets up off the pillow, bows to the dragon, and also heads to the edge of the chamber, where he stands and waits.
Bye, Mr. Proxy.
The sits down in his pillow. So, this is important enough to speak to the dragons directly? It is. The worm that walks, the king of worms, or Ucanthus, whichever name you wish to use, threatens all life everywhere. It has infiltrated a dragon's cult and has used that influence to infiltrate every part of this continent in various ways. In this case, it is every member of the Vang dynasty, except for these two. And that is a Qilin. Very well.
Generally good form to meet your guests.
It is also generally good form to spend one's time as wisely as possible.
I don't think pretending to be a bird on someone's back is wise, but okay.
I was listening very carefully. I have heard every word you have all said.
I mean, that's fine, but appearances are important.
They are. And wouldn't an old man such as that appear to be exactly what you were expecting?
Not those kinds of appearances. It's called manners.
Hmm.
God. I knew that when I was a kid.
Speak to me about manners and using time wisely when you have lived 1,000 years.
It's not exactly a luxury I have.
Well, I mean, if you try hard enough.
And yeah, but I'm not born into it like a dragon.
That's fair. We have to bootstrap ourselves into immortality.
Exactly. Pull ourselves by our own age.
We have to pull ourselves up by our phylacteries and shove our souls into boxes. It's the whole thing.
Have you anything further to say? Which of these two Vang members has volunteered to take over?
They're both abdicating.
Yeah.
Yes, well, perhaps Poland would like to speak on this matter.
I am no more worthy of being of taking the crown of the East than I was when I was exiled. All I have learned since then is how wrong I was before. I will, if you give me that power, I will refuse it. I will leave the Empire if I have to. And this boy has been in the tower since he was weaned. He could not possibly leave this empire. He could not possibly make decisions that would make or break people's lives. But I do remember Rules Yosen. He was a good man, a good steward for the Emperor. He made the right decision to exile me. You would make a good emperor, and maybe it's time for a new dynasty. I understand. Perhaps it is time for the Vang dynasty to end. But if so, then the civil war must begin.
Does
Why?
it really need to?
Yeah, why? It doesn't need to.
We're new to these lands, but why is that?
Tell me, you have a spelljammer. Have you seen the North Kalagia from above?
Yes.
Yeah?
Did you note the strong lines of division between the 5 areas?
Yes.
Yeah?
The north is entirely covered in snow. The west is entirely barren of forests. The south is entirely filled with jungles. You have noticed this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At this, he nods to the person who escorted you, who hurries out and comes back momentarily with a large map of the continent.
Nice map. I got one of those.
This one is about 5 feet tall.
I bought one of these at a gift shop.
And so when it's produced, the dragons. Do you see the
The what? Hello? Technical difficulties. Okay. Uh. Hello?
There we go. Okay, we
Okay.
can all hear each other.
Okay.
That was
mutually
fucking weird.
That was weird.
some sort of mutually assured muting?
That's very odd.
Alright.
Yeah, so I heard up until
You just started talking about the map.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So, do you see the large island in the southwest? The one that almost touches the longest of the islands?
Maybe. Sorry, can you be more specific, Bobbin?
If you've got the map.
Oh, do I need the world map?
No, just the North Calagia map.
I don't see a large island in the southwest.
In the southwest of the island area.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. So what of it?
500 years ago, it was a peninsula. Then, those of the islands invaded the peninsula, took it over, displaced the locals. And after 200 years, the land, the isthmus that connected that part to the Gold Empire, sank beneath the sea. The smaller island in the north that is yellow. That island was recently colonized by those from the mainland. 50 years ago, the current Vang ruler declared it an official part of the empire. Since then, land, through volcanic action and earthquakes, has been rising out of the ocean, and we estimate that in another 100 to 150 years, the island will no longer be an island.
Do I know where this is going? Because this sounds crazy.
Not quite. But he does continue.
Okay. I just wanted to try rolling.
This land is ruled by the 5 forms of chi. It changes its shape based on which chi is strongest in that area. And the people of each part of the continent influence the kind of chi that is prevalent there. In other words, the Eastern Empire is linked to the chi of Earth, and it will always have the characteristics of Earth, which means it is for the most part stable, abundant, populous, and every once in a while, a great change shakes everything to the ground. As the Gold Dragons, we have been placed in charge of this town. We have done our best to keep things as stable as possible and to keep the inevitable quakes as quick and as painless as they could possibly be.
Okay, but
So sorry. Can we? If we're backing up slightly, the chi thing. You kind of just said that, and then didn't really explain why that is the case.
It is an artifact left over from the first of the human empires. First,
Okay.
the dragons were in charge, but that was thousands upon thousands of years ago. When we chose to leave the reins of the world to the smaller folk, the giants took over. For the most part, their empire was throughout the southern part of the planet, but when eventually the end of their time came, the very first of the human empire arose on this continent. The Genesis, from which we get the words Genasi, their descendants, and Genesis, for beginnings.
Interesting.
As their descendants, if you have ever met them, can attest, Genesis made deals with powerful elemental spirits, at times mating with them and producing offspring that have the power of the elements within them. But eventually they learned of the power held within themselves, chi. And in experimenting with it, they managed to unleash its power and embed it within the very ground of the world around them. As dragons, we moved in only after this had happened, to do what we could to contain and sustain the land under these conditions, to stabilize it as best as possible. We are therefore unaware of exactly what happened or how, but it did spell the end of the first human empire.
Let's see. All right, so now that this small boy that's actually an ancient being is done giving us this info dump, when do we choose which of the three colored streams of light to jump into? All right. Well, okay. So you're saying there's really no way around having a civil war, because that seems, I mean, like, what would happen if someone prevented it, or are you saying it would not be possible to prevent it?
Well, it would be possible. I would not say that a civil war itself is necessary, but an upheaval at the very least. A change of a shakedown of the system. If we were to divide power among the various regions of the Eastern Empire, and if each region were to grow independently powerful, then it would take on the energy of wood, and forests would grow out of control, fill the lands, push out the fields.
I see.
If instead we kept everything still, prevented the upheaval entirely, ruled by fiat, by fear, then everything would become still and solid as metal, and the frosts of the north would extend down into the east.
see. So why is it that there are various vassal or tributary states? Why do they not take on the qualities of wood?
They follow the empire's governmental system, and they pay homage even though they are relatively independent. In the south, there is a much more feudal. The tributaries there are much more independent and willing to fight one another.
I see. Well, all right. This whole arrangement seems kind of wrong to Aurelia, but she's not going to presume to like ask how to undo a millennia-old fucking curse on the continent, which is how she's going to think of it, even if that's not actually accurate.
It's accurate enough.
So, yeah, she's just gonna be like, well, okay. That
Sounds like a hot mess to me.
Yeah.
that sounds like something that is not necessarily easy to deal with. All the same, personally, I would be in favor of avoiding needless death as much as possible. So but clearly I do not, none of us have a perfect understanding of how things work here, so I do not wish to presume to say what the best course of action would be.
So what do you say out loud?
Well, I feel like she was saying part of that out loud. I don't know. No, she will say out loud basically that, well, she doesn't, clearly we do not have a full grasp of precisely what is possible in this land, but nevertheless, if there is some way that we could contribute to minimize the whatever violence or bloodshed is necessary, then we would be inclined to do so.
The bloodshed is not what we desire either, but we have not yet come across a method that could channel the upheavals away from death and murder and fire.
Have you considered some kind of really big sporting event?
Here's what you do. You get a perfect sphere of water.
Okay, I know. I feel like this is a reference to some Final Fantasy thing that I'm not fully aware of.
Blitzball.
10. You are referring to the Emperor's Games of Okar?
Shit, no, I wasn't, but I guess I was accidentally. Fuck.
Yes.
Wait, you weren't?
Yes, she is.
Yep.
No, I was literally just trying to make a joke.
Is. I don't know. Definitely is.
Aurelia was thinking of what other things could create upheaval. Okay, well, now that you say that, Aurelia's like, yes, I suppose I was. I mean, not that I would like to look to Okar for examples, but perhaps in this case, their terrible traditions would actually be suited to this land. Better than they are to Okar itself, which is bad, and I don't agree with anything they do.
I mean, hard same.
We have studied their system, but we believe that it encourages too much power gathering of individuals. The
There's a certain irony to that.
the adventurers of Okar managed to accrue quite a considerable amount of power onto themselves without any sort of responsibility to the people around them.
I'm working on it.
You guys ever think of just partying? Just throwing it out there.
As it is, however, we do have an exam system for the bureaucracy. Those who show themselves to be competent are given positions that reflect their abilities and are then prevented from creating offspring that could otherwise taint the system with nepotism.
You realize that doesn't work, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't.
I don't really think that works.
People are selfish all the goddamn time.
They
Having,
find
like,
workarounds is the thing.
They also have family that isn't direct they can deal with, and also they can adopt a kid at any point. And also, there are just so many different ways.
We do not pretend that we have built a perfect system, but it does seem to work better than relying simply on birthright.
Well, I relied simply on birthright, and
I mean,
I only had
elected
to
officials?
kill like a couple people to take the throne back from my brother.
Yeah, yeah, you don't think that was
I
a
don't know.
little bit fucked up, Aurelia? Like, I was
mean,
glad
he
to
didn't
do
even
it.
die. He's still out there somewhere. I'm assuming we're gonna fight him eventually. But
I mean,
don't know
I
when
was
the
glad
fuck
to
that's
do
gonna
it.
happen.
He was a fucking douchebag, but, like, seriously.
Like, I feel like Bobbin's really holding them in reserve at this point. Like,
But as for objections here and now,
yeah, I mean, really doesn't really love the whole thing, but again, she feels a little bit hesitant about, just telling them it's wrong or whatever.
I mean, you could look for folks with exceptional talent, open up schools and recruit
well,
from them if need be. Like,
yeah, Aurelia is going to. No, you know what? No, because she would make a point of pride of this because she values her ancestry and she sincerely believes that having that noble lineage is something that has molded her into the person she is and everything. So I would, I don't know if I can really like it. This is hard, okay? Because obviously Aurelia believes things here that I do not believe. So I don't know how persuasive I can be, but I would like the chance for Aurelia to kind of make her case for the benefits of hereditary succession, for the benefits of people it's true that someone could behave selfishly because of that they want to benefit their families or something like that. But at the same time, it is just as true that someone with no connections to the next generation will often be inclined merely to enrich themselves, to live the moment that they are currently in, to give no thought to passing something better on to someone that they care about. Uh, it, when people are forced to remember that they are building something not just for themselves but for their children and grandchildren and their children and grandchildren, then there is value in that as well, and blah blah blah. She's basically gonna say that kind of thing. I'm assuming I can roll a persuasion.
if you'd like.
It's a pretty good roll.
It is a pretty good roll.
Hmm. Perhaps.
out of curiosity, how do you currently recruit?
Like in general?
Yeah. For these
Hmm.
eunuch positions.
Well, those who can afford to take the test, take the test, and anyone,
why is-
anyone of age can take them. And,
Anyone of age that's a man.
Well, any male, you mean?
well, yes.
Already, that's a problem. But
Yeah.
Yeah. So why
is this
what
suddenly
the benefit?
devalued? By
What is the benefit exactly of cutting off half of the population from these positions of power?
Well, because ruling ruling the public is the responsibility of the man.
Right,
Ruling the
but
pri-
oh, good, good.
taking care of the private areas is the responsibility of the woman. In such
Why is
areas,
that?
she is sovereign.
Yeah, but like, isn't there an empress in the south who's doing quite a pretty good job as far as I can tell? Like, why just immediately cut off all women? Because like, I'm 100% sure there are gonna be some men who are gonna be like complete total stinkers when it comes to ruling, and it's
Well, yeah,
been.
that's why they have the exams.
Well, I mean,
But I think the argument is more for why, like,
yeah,
that they're
just let
cutting women off of that.
yeah, like why would you cut off perfectly good and capable rulers like that?
Noble dragon, remember that humans are not the same as dragons, and our lives from birth to death go differently than yours. We spend time with the whole family. That is expected and preferred in our cases. And as such, there's not so much difference between the lives of a man or a woman unless they're assigned to us from the outside. There's also the fact that women are not as easily sterilized as a man.
I still don't understand why not having
but-
people sterilized cheapens
Yeah.
this test.
If sterility is not going to be a factor moving forward, then that would not play into this.
Jumping off of that, also having your lines of succession be strictly male is just inviting stagnation, really.
Yeah.
Well, since the Southern Empress took power not so long ago, we have been considering, at the very least, introducing women into lower positions of power, just as a test. See what might happen.
Surely, as dragons, as creatures, you know, who live as long as you do, who value knowledge as much as you do, you are aware of the many times and places throughout the history of our world that women have held power. Why is it necessary to test so cautiously here specifically when it can clearly be seen that you know, across time and space, women are just as
Because they're
capable,
afraid of
generally
change.
speaking.
If nothing else, it is because people here are used to living in certain way.
But
So
did you
things
not-
can't
did you
get
not
better, is
just
what you're
say-
saying.
Did you not just say that upheaval is sometimes necessary?
Yeah.
Perhaps this sort of upheaval, this social upheaval, could take the place of a more deadly type of upheaval.
That is a thought. If a social upheaval is... but then there would still be wars fought because of the sudden changes.
Need
Still
there be?
be violence, at the very least.
Well, there will always be violence of
Yeah.
some kind or another.
That's always going to be a fact of humanoid life, unfortunately.
But
I mean, even dragons. Let's be real.
you know, the better violence on a small scale than, you know, a massive civil war.
Hmm. I worry that sudden social change might cause a civil war as well.
Well, in that case, there is still little to be lost then.
Yes. Still, the best solution, the one that eludes us, would be to find a way to channel the upheaval outside of violence, rather than to give it new and
Partying.
different causes.
Just party.
Well, that's part of what the social upheaval might do. As you say, it is not guaranteed to succeed, but surely it is worth trying.
Yeah, I'll definitely get the idea across at least.
I don't know.
Perhaps.
I'm not sure if there's some other obvious solution that Baldwin is expecting us to find or not.
Dude, this is all about politics. I am not expecting anybody to come up with a perfect solution here.
Fair enough. I don't know. I actually do think this is the best solution that we've come up with so far.
Yeah, at least not one that would get rejected outright.
I'm just saying, a giant party to celebrate the changing of the guard.
That's not upheaval. That's fun.
But it's chaotic.
Chaos and upheaval are not the same thing.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure.
It's like if the Venn diagram, one includes the other, but does not necessarily go both ways. Anyway.
What was the third thing on the list? We had a list of 3.
Well, the last one was the kid in the room, which...
Oh yeah, so... I'm sure this goes hand in hand with the other things, but the kid in the room is a terrible idea.
Yeah, that's a
Just look at what happened to our good friend over here.
Boy in the tower.
No offense.
Yeah.
Boy in the tower.
Boy in the tower. It's kind of... We've got kind of 2 examples of how it didn't really serve its intended purpose here, I think. In that, you know, Poland got pretty messed up by it. I don't want to speak for him, but that's the stories
that's right.
he told. Yeah, the stories he told illustrated that it does not exactly have a positive developmental effect on children being locked in a room.
Yeah.
And Quent over here,
And
lovely
Quent,
as he is not fit to rule despite being the sole survivor.
yeah, so
Yeah.
even though in the case of Quent it seems to have served its purpose, I would contend that in reality it hasn't, because though it has preserved a member of the dynasty, it has not preserved one who is really capable of
He knows
ruling.
nothing of the world.
Yeah, like cutting somebody off entirely from the world doesn't do the world any favors if the person who's been cut off from it has to suddenly rule.
No, I suppose not. Perhaps the solution there would be to preemptively exile members of the dynasty. Send them out to explore the world. Perhaps come up with new ideas from a different perspective than that of a dragon. And if needed, we can always recall them.
That sounds like a much better idea.
That does sound like a much better idea.
I would be happy to like set up an exchange program if they want to come to Karsdak. By the way, just completely unrelated thing that just occurred to me right this second is like, how do you feel about intercontinental trade? Like, is that... Do you guys have any objections to that?
Objections, absolutely not. It's
perfect.
simply a matter of expense.
Right. Okay. Just curious. I have some ideas on that front, but I don't want to, you know, it's a secondary matter, and probably something that would be better discussed with whoever is
Yeah, let's
in
stay on
charge.
topic about.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't stepping on any draconic toes, as it were.
I mean,
We are
all
not
right.
we are not very interested in the trading of monetary goods.
Perfect. All right. So, yes, so the idea of sending them out, I think that is a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking for myself, because basically that exact thing happened to me, rather involuntarily, when I was, exiled as a teenager from my home, and wandered the continent as a bard in training, basically. I feel like that added a very positive perspective on my ability to rule my own nation now that I have taken power.
And look where you are now, reviving gods and chilling with dragons.
yeah.
Exactly. So I would very much support such a plan. But I would say, really, I think it's very important for children specifically to be raised not in isolated ways. So like maybe once they're adults, you send them off, or you send off the brother or sister or whatever of the ruling monarch. That kind of thing.
Hmm. You have said many things, some of which seem like they may be important. Others, perhaps not. But we shall take all that you have said under advisement. As for the infiltration that you have come to end, now that we are aware that the only remaining members of the Vang dynasty who are not infected are in this room,
Or on another plane.
or on another plane, we shall handle the purging of the old guard ourselves.
All right. A little
Sounds
gruesome, but
fun.
that's fair.
Look at that, Marlia. You didn't even need to come along.
I'm just thankful I don't need to talk in front of another dragon.
I know, right?
Do you need anything further from us in that regard? Is there any other assistance that we can provide on that front?
No. I would suggest that you continue your hunt. And if they have no plans of their own, we may hold the Vang members here for the time being.
Well, I think that Poland intended to return to his monastery.
I did. I can get a ride from them. That's
Oh, okay.
fine. No, he's saying that to the dragon.
Okay.
What does Quent want?
Yeah. Hey, Quint, what do you want out of this? All this?
Right now, I want to go back home.
I'm sorry, that is the one thing we cannot
Yeah,
do.
that's unfortunately the one thing we can't do.
Home is in what, the room that he grew up in?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Kid's overwhelmed.
All right. Would you settle for going back to the ship?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get him an escort back to the ship then.
Yeah, it's a bit much, isn't it? Now that I think about it. You ever realize how numb we've become to these sorts of things?
Yeah, I mean...
You ever take a step back and realize how incredibly jaded we've become?
I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's true either.
Jaded is the right word for it.
Yeah, I don't think jaded is.
We have...
Either way, let's...
We've got
Let's leave.
bigger
I mean,
priorities,
we're
unfortunately.
used to crazier shit than the average person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for this whole ordeal, Quent, but soon you'll be able to just have a regular life, I promise, one way or another.
What does that even mean?
That's a
I'll
good question.
get to you
None
when
of
I
us can give you an
learn about
answer.
it. Yeah.
Well, it means that you'll be able to make decisions, at least some decisions, for yourself, and you'll get
I
to.
think we should just give him a way to be a kid more than anything, but
Yeah, well, sure.
we'll worry about that later.
If you choose to allow the child to go with you, be sure that he does not end up in any part of the continent. Regardless of how the situation moves forward, there will be certain members of the Empire who would want to use him as a headpiece for their own claim to rulership.
Yeah, I was thinking we would probably bring him back to Karasdak.
Very well. If you have a Cheelin with you, then you cannot be too terrible of an influence on him.
Well, I mean,
To be
I
fair,
can't be.
the children entrusted two of us into like raising him a little more properly.
Very well.
Yeah, I think it must
Who
have
am
been
I to disagree?
a dragon.
Yeah, dragon.
Here, dragon.
All right. So, sorry, I guess there still sort of remains the question, and perhaps we have not been given an answer because you have not yet decided. But what will happen in the Empire after the Veng are purged?
We will make changes. We will consider and debate amongst ourselves which changes would be wisest, and then we shall implement them. Until
Alright.
then, I'm afraid we will not have an answer for that question.
That is approximately what I expected. So,
So I have a much simpler question. What's your name?
I am a gold dragon.
I'm sure you have a name.
I do.
yes, he clearly doesn't wish to share it, though.
But
And I would like to know it.
among ourselves, there is only one other who knows. And she is not here.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I suppose my parents would also have to count. 3, then.
All right.
But
Well,
when I am here, when I am operating in an official capacity, as I am now, we do not use names.
All right.
Is it a
Yeah.
privacy thing or is it a security thing?
It is a matter that we all speak for each other here. You speak with one, you speak with all.
Okay. Sure.
all right. Well, we appreciate your time and your assistance. Thank you.
This time will be noted. It will be remembered.
Just Lily gives him a thumbs up. Going back to the ship. Place sucks.
The adolescent stands up, and as the rest of you prepare to leave, he goes to the edge of the chamber, turns back into a bird, and flies off.
Fucking weirdo.
And
All right. Well, time to go to Japan.
God. Hopefully we don't need to deal with more dragons.
Really?
we're gonna deal with more dragons. I 100%
Wait,
bet.
hold on. Bobbin, have we ever eaten curry of any kind?
Not yet, no.
Okay. So I won't be able to introduce curry to fake Japan.
That being said, you have been experiencing a variety of spices you've never encountered before.
It's been great.
That's fair. I was just thinking of curry specifically because Japanese curry is like my favorite food.
And for that matter, you are invited by your escort to stay for the night if you so choose, as honored guests of the Gold Dragons.
I want to fucking leave.
Ooh, they probably have really nice guest rooms though. Aurelie wants to stay.
You don't want me to stay here.
I
is
think
the
we
thing,
should just
though.
vote.
Well, I don't
Talon, what's
sleep,
your-
so I
Well,
say
okay,
we
but
leave.
you still get a vote.
You still do rest.
I still do rest,
Yeah.
but like, eh.
What? Don't you
I
want to
mean, you know
look
what?
at how nice this place is?
Lily's gonna vote to stay here strictly because it means not eating boat food for another day.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, okay, nice. All right.
All right, and
The food argument has actually persuaded me to vote yes. Let's stay here.
Yeah, I want to see what kind of food they have here.
well, what they serve is surprisingly simple, but perfectly executed. Like,
Nice.
the chefs, as well as everyone else, have the same sort of outfits. Although they do, have aprons to protect their clothing from splashes and such.
God, even the food offends my sensibilities.
And you get to see this for yourself because the chefs actually bring the food out themselves after cooking it. You get the feeling that the servants here, or possibly the Gold Dragons themselves, spend a lot of time doing a variety of jobs throughout the complex. They don't seem to stick to just one activity per person. That being said, whoever cooked your meal was an expert, because like I said, it is fairly simplistic. Just a few basic but prominent ingredients, including some sort of red meat, a variety of hearty vegetables, and all presented with a sauce designed very carefully to enhance and expose the flavors of the ingredients rather than to hide or coat them, as you have experienced with various other cuisines in the past.
Nice. All right.
I mean, I've literally eaten bugs before, so this is a definite step up.
I mean, Lily is in this constant state of both hating it but enjoying it at the same time. This place is too perfect. I hate it.
Huh. All right. Well, Aurelia's just having a good time. All right. And,
Nice.
so I guess once we're done, we'll go return Poland to the monastery and then head for whatever the Japan place is called.
Lily fighting the urge to take anything.
Neha, or Neja.
Neja. All right.
All right. You sleep as guests of the Gold Dragons. And discover that, much like everything else, the beds are also just sort of flat with the ground. Although it's a surprisingly good back support, considering that there's no like bed springs or anything like that. But your night being over, You climb back aboard the ship, along with an escort who bows graciously as you leave. And it's not too long after that that you return to the monastery, at which point Polent says his goodbyes.
Later, you
And-
were cool.
Lily goes to shake his hand.
Sorry about making you break your vow of silence.
It's fine. You can just make a new one.
Having seen Lake and Lily shake hands earlier, he is familiar with this ritual, but is very, like, bandy-handed like you were before. Sort of weird and rolling handshake, similar to the one you did with Meg earlier.
Aurelia is not some kind of Philistine who can't adapt to other cultures, so she bows appropriately.
Yeah.
Lake moves over and it's like,
that
no,
Lily
no, no.
chooses
This
to be a
is
Philistine.
this is how you're supposed to do a handshake, and I will do a proper handshake with him.
All right. And when you apologize for making him break the vow of silence, he just shrugs and says, "One of the principles here is to forget about past flaws and focus on future perfection. The vow of silence is already broken, but nothing I can do about it now."
I will say, though, if nothing else, we can promise you that Quent will be well taken care of.
I hope so. And he turns to the boy, puts his hand on his shoulder, and say, "It won't take much, but I want you to just remember this. Do better than me." And that's it. He steps back, gives you one last bow, and heads into the monastery.
Lily's sitting there like, I fucking hate that gold place, though. It's the kind of simplicity only the rich can afford.
Oh, it was fine. Stop complaining, Jesus.
No, it kind of sucked.
I really thought it was nice.
Yeah, but you've also got two people in this party who hate the rich for various reasons.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, somehow Aurelia hadn't figured that out. Thanks.
Lily turns to the camera and just goes, Can't live without him." Shrugs.
Like just turns
Fucking
to
career.
the camera and says, "Eat the rich."
Hate it. I hate that look of the golden place. Like, personally, I fucking hate it. That sort of, like, opulent simplicity. It disgusts me.
Because you can't, there's nothing to steal that isn't nailed down.
Exactly.
Well, at least they've got more sense than money, so there's that going for them.
I wouldn't go that far.
They've got about as much sense as money.
Well, sorry. I assume we're gonna end here and then go to Fake Japan next time, Neja. But just as by way of preview, did we get a rundown from Marley about what the deal is there? Because I don't remember it.
Yes. Essentially, it's Warring States period, where
Good.
where the emperor is completely powerless, but otherwise untouched, and a variety of. Well, yeah. If you just look at the map again,
Right. Those
the
are
map
the
of
boundaries between the daimyo or whatever they're called.
yeah, those are the boundaries between the various lords who are battling for supremacy at the moment.
All right.
Feed
Time
me
to
that
become
Sengoku bullshit
Shogun.
directly into my mouth hole.
And the capital city, you are informed, is the dot that is sort of closer to the tail on the long fish-shaped island.
Oh, okay.
So unlike Kyoto, this one is actually along the coast.
Okay, so Bob, and I just want to throw out there, I would totally use a magical katana if we find one.
Katanas are fucking terrible weapons.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
They really are.
That's not true.
It can honestly depend,
It really
like
depends.
every other kind of sword.
Yeah, like every weapon, like there are things that they're good at and things they're bad at.
The problem is Japanese iron was largely very terrible.
Well, yes, but that's not a function of the katana. That's a function of Japanese iron. You can make a katana with iron from anywhere.
And they often did, because they didn't have much to spare for themselves.
Yeah. Oh, so let's fold it over 5,000 times. No,
Only
I know that
5,000, come on.
They overfolded it because it was poor quality iron generally.
Yeah.
But again, that is not a function of the katana. That's just a function of the materials that are being used to create it. Katana style sword. Anyway, just saying, if there were a magical katana, I feel like Aurelia is could become a weeaboo. Is all I'm saying.
You have this sweet mace.
It fucking sucks, and I hate it, and I'm fucking.
Now I could use a katana.
Yeah, it's a. Well, wait, hold on. What kind of sword is it? Is it a katana?
It's also a. I would actually say it looks more like a jan,
Okay.
Chinese straight sword.
Yeah, I mean that's okay, I guess. It's not as cool as a katana.
But yes, just to finish mentioning, the warring states happened already by the time the worm showed up. So what they're mostly doing is keeping an eye on the situation and creating a stronghold where they can keep the gem that is the centerpiece of the dragon cult.
Oh shit! So the gem is here? Did we know that already?
You don't know, because they're creating strongholds elsewhere, along with one in fake Japan.
Oh.
But that is what you are going. That is why you would need to go there, because they aren't interfering with the politics of the islands. They are creating a stronghold where they could keep the gems safe.
Oh, so does that mean we don't get to become shoguns?
I wouldn't say no, because the world is your oyster, but it's not on the to-do list.
All right. Well, Aurelia might scribble something onto the Yeah. All right. All right. But I mean, if we find someone cool there and we want to help them become shogun, that could potentially help us.
We are not solving this political situation.
No.
I mean, look,
no.
I just have a lot of unresolved trauma because when I played in Japan Sim, I did not get to finish fucking murdering Tokugawa as Ukita Hide.
It's because Tokugawa's a son of a bitch.
I know, but it was so good. I set everything up so I was gonna fucking defeat him, and then the fucking Koreans showed up. And then everyone's like, "Oh no, you can't kill Tokugawa while the Koreans are invading Japan," because there was a whole alt history component to it. Look, it was.
Look, all I'm saying is this is not a thing we can solve overnight, so we are turbo fucked if we try to.
It's entirely possible we could solve it overnight. Look at how many things we've solved over.
No.
Frankly, most of the problems we found, we have in fact solved overnight.
All we need is a series of strategically placed magical nukes placed across the country.
When the alternative is total annihilation, peace, the only solution.
Anyway, I'm gonna.
Then we bring in the space squid.
I'm assuming that we're done, and I did not get much sleep last night, and I have to work early, so I'm going to bed. Good night.
Yeah, I'm also
good night.